that we have here tonight. It is School Board Recognition Month, and we have such a great relationship with our school board, and we have great people that serve our community from the school board. And Master Livingston said, hey, we ought to do a proclamation, and we have you all here tonight, and we're very glad to have you here. And have Superintendent Billy Parker, Eleanor Ratliff, Wendy Young, and Becky Nelson. So glad you all could join us, and we'll do this proclamation here early after we pay our bills.
No pressure, but National County Month is in April, just in case you were wondering.
So if everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that said, Ms. Hamilton, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Wallace. Mr. Corman.
Present.
Mr. Ellison.
Here.
Mr. Pratt. Mr. Livingston.
Here.
Mr. Culbertson.
Here.
Judge Covington.
So just for the, Michelle, could you check with Ben? Mr. Pratt, I think, is in the waiting room on Zoom. So we can officially let the record reflect that he is present.
Sound like a clue.
So we do have a quorum, so we can move forward. And the first item of consideration that we have, not showing up in the waiting room.
Last week's meeting.
Forgive me, just let's push pause for a second so we can get Mr. Pratt present.
He's fancy.
Okay, I've sent him another email with another link, or the same link, but we're going to go ahead and we'll try to get him in the meeting here as soon as possible. So the first item on our agenda is a consideration of the previous meeting's minutes, and those were shared by email. Or any questions or comments related to those minutes as presented? Motion from Mr. Rick Hostetler. Second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is number 5, transfers. Questions or comments? Motion from Kelly Corman. Second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next 6 bills and hand checks as presented. Questions or comments? Motion from Dwayne Ellison. Second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. With that said, that leads us to our proclamation, and I'll go ahead and read this, but I do want to just make comment that we have a great school system. We are so proud of what they do for young people in our community, the opportunities that's provided, and the leadership that you all provide it doesn't go unnoticed. And just want to sincerely thank you and recognize what you do. So with that said, I'd like to read the proclamation, and then allow any comment from the magistrates, and then comment from Superintendent Parker, and then you all as well. So with that said, whereas an excellent public education system is vital to the quality of life for all Scott County citizens, and whereas the Board of Education members believe all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child, and whereas the Board of Education members continually advocate to best serve the children in our community, and whereas our local Board of Education continues to act to ensure children's academic, social, emotional, physical, and mental health needs are met so they can become their best selves, and whereas Board of Education members collaborate closely with parents, school staff, educational professionals, and the other community members to create the healthiest environments possible where all students can thrive, and whereas Board of Education members are responsible for building and maintaining a solid foundation for our school system, and whereas the Board of Education members are strong advocates for public education. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Scott County Fiscal Court does hereby proclaim the month of January 2025 throughout this community as School Board Recognition Month, and urges all citizens recognize the dedication and hard work of our Scott County Board of Education members, Diana Brooker, Susan Duncan, Becky Nelson, Eleanor Ratliff, and Wendy Young, and to work with them to create an education that meets the needs of our children. Dated this 23rd day of January. So thank you all so much, and comments from magistrates.
Luckily, I'll go ahead and say I get to brag about this group all the time now. I feel like our board is the most professional and positive school board out there right now. And when we go to other meetings with other groups and superintendents or KSBMA and those groups, the horror stories I hear from their boards and the turmoil, I just get to smile and say how great we have it here. So love our board right now, and I really appreciate you guys.
Anyone else?
I'll second that because I work with a lot of school boards across the state, and there are several that I actually go and watch their meetings, but because they're quite interesting. So it's and I've never gone back to watch one of the meetings that you all have to find out, what was all the drama about, because there is never any drama. And so I appreciate that. And of course, I've had 3 girls. 2 of them have gone through. 1 is there. They have all been successful, and it's because of what you all do, and it starts and it's top down is where it comes from. So thank you all.
Anyone else? Superintendent Parker, would you make any comment?
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity to show the recognition to our board that they deserve, because as some others have echoed, we are tremendously blessed with what we have in our community. I also think this speaks to the relationship that we have in our community. There is no one arm of our community that's carrying the rest of it. It takes all of us. When you look at a community holistically, it takes all parts. And as the weather has recently demonstrated with the cooperation we've gotten from, there he is over there, JR. So with the cooperation that we've gotten and really working together to try and make sure that we provide for our community, it takes everybody, and it takes that effort from you all. And these ladies, people don't see the time that they put into this. We've got meetings just like you all do that you all probably can relate more than most, that there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, so that when you show up to those meetings, you don't have to have a lot of drama, because you can take care of all the business behind the scenes and make sure that we're all on the same page and ready to rock and roll. So I could not, there's things I lose sleep over at night, but nothing related to anything touching our board. I put them up against anybody. So thank you all.
Thank you all, and we appreciate you sincerely. Would you all like to make any comment?
I'd just like to say it is a pleasure to serve Scott County and their education. I taught here, and it just, to go to those meetings, I just cannot tell you how prepared we are because of our superintendent and the other members. And I'm just sitting here thinking our board consists of 5 women. And this board in front of me consists of,
Stacy's in charge, though.
But seriously, it is a true pleasure, and thank you for all that you do.
I just want to echo the same. I'm a homegrown Scott County girl, cheerleader, Coach Stacy when she was in middle school, and I just want to say thank you so much for the collaboration, because the reason why our city is wonderful is because of the people that are here. So thank you, and we have an amazing superintendent. Yes.
Yes, we do. And I'm a little different. I have lived here 23 years, and I love Georgetown and Scott County, but I worked 15 of those years in Franklin County, commuting back and forth. So when I retired, I was determined to get to know my community and find ways I could serve my community. And I have grown to, I appreciate the opportunities I've had to do that. I've grown to love it even more because of the great people. And as Mr. Parker said, the fact that we all work together to make an outstanding community for ourselves and our children. So I appreciate the connection with all of you, and that you are having us here to say you appreciate our communication with you and working with you as well. Thank you for that.
Let's do a picture.
No,
Billy Parker.
that was Alyssa.
It was Alyssa. Yes.
I might even pay for stories.
That's why she's where she is.
Sorry, I messaged Pratt. He's really concerned about not being on. All right, David stood out just a hair. This one. Yep, perfect. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to recess our meeting for a moment so I can try to get Ryan in here. Thank you all. And you all have a good evening.
I'm like, how old are you kidding? I mean, you can't get 10 minutes?
Yeah, good to see you.
Hey, maybe I'll take over this gavel. You all have a good night.
No, that's right. Right. No, sometimes a pointed question.
This probably is the 27th meeting. Printed my agenda.
Printed it on what?
I print it out every day. I have it printed out and I sit it on my desk. And I never bring it.
I always have extras.
I should always go. I just
Look at it right here.
It's sitting there lonely.
There it is, right in your email.
I know, but then when I pull up on my phone, I feel like I'm looking at the phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like yours at home next year?
Hey, can you push mute?
So for some reason,
Oh, yeah.
Zoom kicked our host, who was Ben, out, and then he couldn't let Ryan in. So we've got it all straight, and we can come out of recess and let the record reflect that Ryan is here. So with that said, we will move down to number 8, and as I shared via email, I'd like the court to consider just tabling that if no one objects to item number 8. Any objections?
No objection.
All right, we'll move forward there. Number 9, as we shared by email, last week I received, it's an electronic DocuSign to join the national, well, it's the settlement, the state of Kentucky settlement for the opioid settlement process. And Stacy shared this, but the Attorney General of Kentucky, Russell Coleman, last spring independently filed a lawsuit outside of the multi-state effort against Kroger, and they came to a settlement. And the court has to approve joining that settlement. But I had to sign the DocuSign, and I consulted with Cam. Cam said, "Go ahead and sign the DocuSign, and then we'll ratify this." And I really did not believe anyone would object to joining that settlement because we will realize additional opioid settlement funds as being a member of that class. So, does anyone have any questions about that?
Are you going to read anything before we?
It's $110 million that we'll have a portion of. They have not said how much we'll have a portion of, but it just essentially allows us to enter into that group.
So that settlement was $110 million coming to the state.
Coming to the state, counties, and other entities that join that will join that settlement will realize a portion of that. Of those proceeds.
I'm assuming that the Attorney General is going to have oversight of how they're,
Any other questions?
Motion to ratify.
Motion. Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Chief Ward is not with us. He's a little under the weather. We have a request for fire department out-of-state travel to go and really review the build on some equipment, correct?
Correct. It's the ladder truck that should be delivered. It's a pre-construction trip, so really the cost has already been made in the cost of the truck, so we might pay that up front for the truck. 2 trips, pre-construction trip, and the final trip we'll go back and verify everything's on the truck where we want. There'll be a crew of 4, one that'll be Chief Ward, Lieutenant Chief Adam White, firefighter Tom Rose, and myself. I think we leave Tuesday next week from that Friday.
Minnesota is Wisconsin. I'm sorry, I was close.
Sounds very cold.
Go the wrong way.
Yeah, if it was Miami, we might question this. But I wouldn't even say anything about Jacksonville this week. Questions or
You
comments?
sure they're not going by
Yeah.
Miami?
Motion from Dwayne, the second from Rob Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Judge, Chief, you say that's pre-construction, so they haven't, does that mean they haven't, I guess don't they already have like the chassis or something?
Basically, the chassis, they came in, we actually did spec sheet on the trucks, so they know what we're doing. Basically, this is just before they take it off. Us looking at the graphics, looking at the wiring, before they actually take it off. So they had the chassis, they put the cabin on.
Got you. Thanks.
Pre-construction.
Now, fire department new hire, Jeff and Chief Baker and Revel have been working on this, I'm sure. So,
Yes, on behalf of Chief Ward and the rest of the fire staff here, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Paul Porter as a firefighter. That'll be effective February 17th at $14.51 an hour. He comes with a couple of years of living experience and currently is working for the Princeton Fire Department.
so as I shared by email, we have 4 current vacancies. We've advertised for laterals, had some interest, but this individual, after the interview, made a lot of sense and stood out as a candidate that could consider approval. So that would get us to 3, and then we'll follow this up during new business with conversation about a training class and go from there. Are there any questions about this appointment and approval?
Motion.
Motion?
I just got one. So I have a hard time wrapping this hourly wage up. Can you tell me how much that is a year?
It would, let's see, it's $55,000.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to make sure.
The incentive pay, holiday pay out advance, that's what they would have raised, $55,000.
Okay.
And that's no unscheduled overtime, but that's the mandatory built in.
Right.
Any other questions?
Need a second.
Second.
Dwayne got it.
Dwayne got a second. All right. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. EMS promotions.
Yes, we have 3 promotions. These are all individuals who recently obtained their advanced EMT certification. And so the 3 are Jeremiah Huffenbarger, John Nunn, and Donovan Starr. These will all be retroactive to the start of this current pay period, which is January 18th. And Huffenbarger would start at, his new promoted rate would be $16.47 an hour. John Nunn would be $16.47 an hour. And Donovan Starr would be $16.02 per hour.
Any questions or comments about this recommendation? Motion and a second from Dwayne Ellison. Motion from Kelly Corman, second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That will lead to 13, animal control new hire.
Yes, on behalf of Sherry Bishop, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Adriana Quinones as an animal care technician. That'll be effective January 27th at $17 an hour. And pleased to also indicate that this would bring the department full staffing.
Very good. Questions?
Motion.
Motion second by Rick. Motion by Mr. Jones. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That's going to lead us to new business. So, Jeff, you might as well stay right up there.
Let me grab some more paper.
All right. The first thing in new business that I'd like to discuss, as we shared by email, the potential of putting together a training class and then looking at proactively adding provisional positions. And I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
Sure. So, yes. In an effort to be more strategic and proactive in our efforts here, and instead of waiting for vacancies to occur before we start to fill the positions, it just makes sense to, on a provisional basis. These are not new position additions. This is just provisional hiring where we know that turnover is going to happen and we want to go ahead and preemptively prepare for that by hiring some additional staff. The recommendation is to fill the 3 existing positions that we have now and then to hire 4 provisional staff. If it takes 6 months to go through an entire process, and if we are typically losing about 7 people per year, then odds are during the 6-month process, you're probably likely to lose 3 people. And so, if anything, you might just be one heavy when the class is over. Of course, you don't know how it's all going to shake out what the future holds, but that's at least, I think, a more smart approach to this.
And let me comment. And in my opinion, the cost, the effort, and the just the time length of a 14-week process, and then the lead time, and then looking with that data that Jeff shared about the last 4 years, on average, we've lost approximately 7 people per year. It does not make sense to me to have any training class going forward, for that matter, less than 6 people. It just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And Revel and Chief Baker, if you all want to comment on that, I know the court would value that, but do you all agree with that?
I know right now we have 3 people that are going to retire right now. I know within July, September, we have 2 more people that and in talking to those folks, I believe they do plan to retire, at least 2 of them, I'm sure. So if you look at how the last recruit class went, by the time we actually finished our recruit class, we didn't have any really folks either retired or left. So it's a proactive approach to keep from having to do recruit class after the first.
So would it be possible to get a list of who's eligible to retire, like say, and then next year, and then next year, so we can start looking out and saying, hey, we need to keep these recruit classes going, so we always got those positions ready to fill.
Like Chief Baker was saying, we actually have 5 by the end of the year we have to retire. And I think I'm sure 3 of them are going to, and others who are in the areas.
You probably could look and say, all right, we know at least this many per year on average. We're going to be 7 retired.
Yeah.
Let's not count the folks that might leave or whatever other reason.
Sure. Right.
So there's one else or whatever.
And those numbers like we're talking about, Jeff's approach with this, if they do that, we're right back eating. But these actions, we're going to be right back eating. So
Yeah.
that's not anybody else.
And Jeff's done some physical impact work. Would you comment on that?
Yeah, I have a document here I'll share with you too.
And we have a hard time getting laterals usually, right?
We do.
You have some that are always out there, like the gentleman we just approved.
Right. He's moving, looking to move. Like
He's a great asset. This gentleman, when we started interviewing, he actually got an EMT in high school, so he knew he wanted to be a fireman, his whole life. And his recommendations come very highly. We've already called back and checked and stuff like that too. I think he's going to be a good asset. But you always get that.
It's really hard to tell what we did in the lateral.
Yeah.
And if you know these guys, see how they retired from Georgetown, Lexington, and all, they play ready for it. Some of them.
Do you want to give a little discussion about person to your right? How's that turned out?
Where's that will?
So yeah, to discuss the financials here, what I did is I said, well, normally what we do is we have 4 vacancies before we start our recruiting process. If you take that approach, this obviously leads to us having to pay overtime for those 4 positions until they're filled. So if the process takes 6 months, you're going to have $138,000 in wage expense, $65,000 in benefit cost, and a total cost of $203,000. If the 4 provisional staff would have been hired and ready to go, you're still going to have some costs, but the cost of them working on a full-time basis without overtime was $95,173. The benefit cost is a little bit higher because you have some health insurance costs in there, so that cost is $72,450. So a total of $167,643. The difference between that overtime and what it would cost if we hired somebody just working the normal schedule is $36,000. So it's a savings of $36,000 by taking this approach. What I also did is I tried to look at, well, what if we would have had 4 people provisional hires in this current class that we just finished up back in October. Yeah, October is when they go on shift. It really started in April, but it took till October to finish it. Then the cost, the additional wage expense that would have been incurred from the time period when the training class was finished to when they actually would have gone on shift would have been $27,000. So there's a little bit of overlap of $27,000 that occurs there. But, and I think this is very conservative, that we would have probably saved at least $10,000 in overtime expense during that period. So the net wage expense, like the increase, would have been $17,679, and the benefit cost of those wages was $9,400. So you have an additional cost of $27,000. So that is still less than that difference. So the net cost or the savings then to the good that it would be would still be about $9,000. So we would still come out to the good there. And shifts, when there's 2 people gone, 3 people gone, not until you hit the 4th, be it primary. So you have some additional cost here that I didn't factor into this equation. In addition, there's additional impact too. So when we have these vacancies, obviously it's a strain on our staff. They have to cover those additional shifts. So they're already working on average 56 hours a week, and now they're going to pick up another 12 or 24 hour shift to make ends meet. So anyway, I think that hopefully that you see that there's a financial benefit, there's also a physical benefit to our staff, but that this approach just makes sense.
And then the other piece, John and Chief Baker and Revel, they've done a really good job of sharing data about unscheduled overtime. And I believe we had those provisionals, and that enabled us to have a really 2-month window of reduced significant unscheduled overtime costs. So, knowing that as well, I think is another piece. So your recommendation and the request from the department would be to approve a training class to be the process to start. And am I correct, now that you've got that one lateral, your training class would actually, you'd want to have a training class of 7?
That's correct. We have 3 vacancies still to fill, 4 provisionals. We just posted the position this past Friday on the 17th. I believe we have it set to close on the 7th. So yes, we would fight to accordingly.
Questions?
Why do we call it provisional hire?
Because we're not creating new positions. We're just overhiring by 4 positions, and as soon as people leave, they just move into a slot that exists. We're not adding positions. This is just a provisional hiring.
So,
And fire is unique because of the training requirement. And
but if let's say you have 7 go through, and you fill those with 4 of the 7, you have 4 openings. You fill those. You've got 3 left over that are provisional. At the end, there's still no openings a month later. They still stay on the payroll until an opening comes.
I mean, they're going to be at station 1.
Folks will actually be riding trucks.
They're kind of like subs, I guess, in some way considered.
But as people retire, they fill a spot, and we don't hire back until we get below our minimum.
Are they showing up to a shift while they're provisional?
no, they'll be assigned a shift.
So it'll be an extra.
They're covering people when
So it's adding a person potentially to a trial.
correct.
Or filling a hole.
But you all know, because on requested paid time off and such, sick leave, I mean, there's
Very, very seldom we full.
very seldom are you full
Any staff
without
anywhere.
a place where you're filling a spot. And we never run less than 3.
To your question, Dwayne, that class ended on October the 12th, and with the 2 provisional hires we had in this summer process, the first person was assigned and on duty November 19th because we had a vacancy, the second one November 3rd. So it was within 4 and 6 weeks that both those provisionals were assigned to a slot.
But I'm sure they filled other shifts when people were out,
Absolutely.
which cut down on overtime as well.
Absolutely.
Question.
No, that was a motion.
Motion from David Livingston, second from
Is the 7
Questions?
enough, though?
No, we included.
Yeah. I like the way you think. No, well, in my head, I was thinking 8, but
You like round numbers.
well, I was just thinking 8 in my head. So, I mean, yeah, we could take the 12 because sooner or later we'd like to have them down stamp ground, maybe. But
So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Ryan
Are you
Pratt,
still there?
he's not sent me a text.
I'm here.
All right.
He had to wake him up.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
get off mute.
All right.
Do we still do co-ops? Like we used to sing, remember we used to sing kids, they co-op. That's how it's
Yeah, unless you're targeting somebody like Inc. or something, probably would go out. We're not gonna put somebody in situations out the 560 plus hours we give them training.
Yeah.
So,
Like, I'm gonna think about co-ops for like JR and stuff like that.
I mean,
No, these kids are, they're not even going to school anymore, they're taking college. Yeah. So
and they have an afternoon off.
they have afternoons off. I've been using them, I've been looking for electricians and stuff like that, and it's really working for us.
Yeah, I've used them for a couple of years, the co-op kids.
And usually you get some really good kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had 3 all-stars the last 3 years with the electrician group, so I don't know if diesel mechanics or CDL type driver, some more. I think it's something what we should look at. I still pay for it out of the maintenance budget. That'd be great. Oh, you better than I do.
But I think Dwayne was thinking about maybe cleaning out culverts and maybe
Just take over my drive.
yeah. Well, maybe let's talk about that.
Get your pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. The next piece of new business shared by email. Dwayne had shared an email about a conversation about SRO positions. Mr. Betson, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Sheriff is he had a prior engagement, didn't he? Yes. So we've got Betson. Betson got all the details anyway. So we're glad to have you. But we have SROs that are contract 185 retired POP certified staff at Royal Spring. We have one at Scott County High. We have one at Eastern, one at Northern, and then we have 2 additional that are deputy sheriff SROs that have been staff for a long time that serve additionally at Scott County High and Scott County Middle. And then we also have a DARE grant funded position that operates out of Creekside. So they're at Creekside, but they also function as a school resource officer there as well. But they also go out and teach the DARE curriculum as well. So in conversations, always looking for opportunities to in my opinion, in today's society, having these school resource officers is a great thing to have at schools. And we don't have one at Ann Mason, and there's another couple slots that you could you've got Phoenix Horizon that's at Scott County Middle, but could they, Dwayne, could they use one themselves in the future possibly?
Well, and Billy came to leadership back last fall. It was last fall. And the goal for Scott County Schools is to provide at least one SRO per school. The state has passed legislation last spring to fund the SROs at each school. It's not quite $20,000 a year per officer, but it's right there at it. And then split the cost, so that's 20 off the top. Us splitting 50-50 down the middle, and cover right now across all the city schools. We just have a few openings that we need to take care of on the county side. So just looking to build each school with what the parents and community want is the SRO school.
And I think going the path of the contract 185 day with a retired officer is the best approach and provides the staffing, but does it at a cost that's not as high as a full-time deputy sheriff. And
that's what, those guys are awesome too. I mean, like the retired guys that come back and do that, they've had all that adrenaline type of stuff and done all the crazy things, and so they love just being able to, like some of the guys that are with the elementaries especially, I mean, and getting hugs and stuff like that, and helping kids across the street and all those things. I mean, it just works out great. They work perfectly with the kids, so it's been nice.
So how's this working in Stamping Ground? Because I know Don's covered it, and
So
John
it's the
is
same type
too.
of agreement.
But where they're full-time with the city, I mean, you're talking about all the retired guys you're hiring to put in.
Right, well, we've got some grandfathered in situations where we had, city had one or two full-time, before we ever started with the SRO situation, some of those people became SROs as full-time deputies.
Mm-hmm.
But we still, as a school system, and we only pay for those 185 days. So we reimburse their daily.
Down Stamping Ground.
Down Stamping.
But are they able to cover the whole day in the
They
school?
split it.
So
So
Don's there
Don-
half and John's
yeah,
there the
right.
other half?
They split it.
Okay.
And they work back and forth. And then, obviously both of them will be there if they are needed or whatever.
Yeah. Because I just wonder if something happened in Stamping Ground, because they would have to serve Stamping Ground first, because that's who's paying them. So what would happen to the school then? If they had to come out of
Had to
school
come out
and
and
answer
go
a
to the
call.
bank, then the county would roll. We would ask that's in the.
Because I know, like, the county used to pay for the crossing yard.
Right.
Well, Don's been doing that ever since he's been there.
Right.
So, which he enjoys, don't get me wrong.
If they have an incident, one of them will go out and will assist them while the other stays in the school. That's typically how
Okay.
The county and Stamping Ground have been working great. They always make sure we're covered one way or the other. If they have to be gone or something like that.
So do y'all, so is the court, I guess, too, with the schools, are we covering the cost of them being in the school at that time? Or is Stamping Ground paying for part of that cost
Stamping
too?
Ground is split. They're paying half of their side. We're not. The
Fiscal court, we're covering Royal Spring, Scott County High, Eastern, Northern, Scott County High. Again, there's two at Scott County High, one at Scott County Middle, and then the DARE officer at Creekside. That's what we're covering right now. What I would like the court to consider, and what Dwayne shared, was, could we go ahead right now for the rest of this year, authorize the sheriff's department to advertise another position at Am Mason?
Because they don't have one at all.
They don't have
We
one
had
right now.
one, and we built a new school, and we opened, and we split, and we created another opening. And so,
Which as big as that school is, I don't see how one person covers all that anyway. But
well, they don't. That's why you always got to have two at a high
Yeah.
school.
it's huge.
And, if we added one for the rest of this year, the cost for the time remaining in the school year is estimated around $20,000. That would be split between the school board and the fiscal court, and then the school board would also try to get a prorated reimbursement from the state for that remainder of the days as well. And then I would say, do we want to go ahead here in the next month and look at, filling the other spots with coverage for next school year? It's not easy to find.
That's what I was going to say. It's go ahead and get the jobs posted, or have the authority to post them when we feel like we have the candidates, because it's been hard sometimes to get the candidates.
The problem is the contract positions have to be a 20-year retired person. So we ran into with one person was retired age and not under the 20-year, and they don't fit those contract parameters from the state.
Or if they retire
and
from
then
a certain
if
group,
you
too.
retire from Lexington or Louisville,
But-
you're in a different retirement system, so you don't count.
But let's just say at our next meeting in February that we considered going ahead and approving adding those spots to fill those spots that need covering, and that would give you all time to really look for next fall to cover the spots. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I think it'd be easier to find somebody for for the next school year completely?
No, that's what my understanding.
It's harder.
But Sheriff Nettles felt like he had somebody in mind for Ann Mason.
Yes, he does.
No guarantee, but he feels like he has one. So that's why we were just saying,
Pretty
but
good position for that one.
yeah, let's try to fill this one, but then come back in a month and go ahead and agree to amend it for next school year, and allow the sheriff's department to make plans ahead of time. And in my mind, the contract with the reimbursement money and then splitting it with the school board, it just, in my mind, public safety doesn't stop at the schoolhouse door. And having a trained school resource officer there is a great, just a great thing to have. Comments and questions?
How many schools are left to fill?
Approximately three.
I agree with what you said. You can't put a price on that protection. It's got to happen. And I'm glad Don and John are doing it at Stamping Ground, but I would like to discuss that a little bit more, you know.
And
Later on, we'll sit down and discuss it, get the mayor, yeah, and see.
No,
County.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But
We've got a new school coming on.
so
yeah.
I would, I would say, would there be a motion to consider adding the one at Ann Mason and then coming back in a month and authorizing with an amended agreement with the sheriff's office and school board to fill those other spots?
Will those other spots be 7-1? Will those other spots, not 7-1, but the new school year, not this year?
In the new school year.
Okay.
I just think
I was just asking because
Yeah.
it doesn't do anything with the budget right now.
No.
And so, yeah.
in this minimal
The other
amount.
thing I would say, if Betson had somebody that was a slam dunk, I might come to you on deck, and the
Yeah.
school system might just go ahead and pay for the rest of the school year to go ahead and
Get 'em in.
secured.
But if we post a
We don't wanna let
position,
them go.
Right.
if you post a position, somebody comes out of the woodwork.
We
But
don't want to let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Motion.
Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all.
One thing, though, it's like talking about our school board and how well everybody works together and everything. It's the same situation across the state, which I know you know this, and Betson, you probably know this too, that schools across the state are in a world of hurt trying to find SROs. And the program that the program that the legislature just passed, if you all knew the ins and outs of that program, I don't know if you do, but it's just a stopgap. It's just a filler because people cannot find SROs.
So, and I just want to remind everybody as well, like, how long ago did we have 2 at Scott County High School?
Zero at that time.
I mean, but
They were still running the beat. Too.
and they weren't really, they were transient almost, because Dwayne and I worked it, and we worked with them, but we've gone from that to where we are now, and the city has 8. So, we're moving forward, and I think we're making a difference in providing a safer environment. I really do. So, I think that's very important. So if there's no other questions or comments about that, I'm going to move to Rob Jones and I have talked about this. I think Rick and I have talked about this. And JR, of course, the clock. So we had Burden in the house today, and they brought a new 4-way mechanism. And by what Chip had described and JR had described to him, they felt like that was the piece of equipment that might have gone bad. And sure enough, they went up there, and where this piece of equipment was it was full of water. And the only thing we can think of is crazy amount of wind pushed water through those slats. And it's never happened, to my knowledge, since I've been here.
Chip and myself is going up there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And see what we can do to prevent that from happening again.
So Verdon put in a new piece, and it's functional. They covered it in plastic. But what we're going to have to do is figure out a way, we're going to have to put plexiglass up or something on those slats. But that's, but I just wanted y'all to know, we get calls all the time, the clock's wrong. And, we put in a new clock, and that I just wanted to share that with you all. But Verdon, I mean, we talked to them a few times, but I got on the phone with them, and they came down today.
Can we get a co-op that works inside the tower there and just changes every minute?
And then,
they have to wear a hump and an eye patch and walk like this.
I'll put Charlie in that job.
And then Chris Runyon's not here with us, but Chris had shared a draft agreement with Cam about the baby box agreement that will go at the new EMS station. We have one at this station on Broadway, but we're building a new one. We have to add a new one. And Cam, you made some suggestions.
Yep.
Chris was sending that back, but I don't know if they have replied with the amended recommendations from Cam. So that is not in the contract. That's one piece that we will have to purchase outside, and it's a $15,000 commitment. I just wanted to update you all on that. I hope that we can have the agreement back before our next meeting and get that all ordered and taken care of. Questions or comments about that?
One comment, or I guess question, that price tag, will that include installation?
I believe so.
I know that in the beginning in the plans, the opening's supposed to be there.
The opening is there. I've seen it with my eyes.
Right. So that's a big part of the battle.
No,
but still, there's some installation and connections.
Yeah, but I think that's all
in that.
Like, that's part that baby box has been in the plans the whole time. Just we had to order it because it was outside the contract.
So the contractors are expecting to install it and hook it up.
The last time down here we had to retrofit it.
Yep.
And I think we're good there. But I'll double check, and JR and I'll double check with Tyler. But we've talked about it in those progress meetings. I shared spreadsheets with you about the sheriff's office clerk's annex substantial completion date. That is there in March 20. I think the date they had shared was March 23rd, and then April 2nd or 3rd was the EMS project. And they've checked with all their subs. They feel confident that those dates are realistic, and I'm very hopeful that they will be, because I'm disappointed that we've had the delays that we've had. But I'm very hopeful that we'll have a great product at the end, and that's the big goal. I'll take that bet, and then I'll raise you. Bet you made a bad bet. Anyway, does any members of our court have any new business?
Have you heard any more, or where we at on with Spectrum, Charter Spectrum in the Sadieville area?
I met with them last week, and Rick, as we've shared, Rail Pros is who's like the third party for Norfolk Southern that schedules the work. They have not given Spectrum a date that the work is scheduled. And
well, there like six crossings, and they've already done 3 or 5,
I think,
can't remember the numbers.
I can't remember the exact numbers, but that
some of them have been completed.
Rick, I don't know if they've completed any of those.
I thought
crossings.
How many houses are affected by that?
I think it's more than 400 or 500.
Well, and part of it
it's-
is, it's not just in the city.
No, it's
Folks north,
yeah,
because
it's
of
a
the way it
domino.
has to cross, yeah.
And as
I
I've
get
shared,
calls from all over the
yeah,
northern
as
part.
I've shared with you all, I've called Governor's Office for Broadband Deployment. I've called Senator McConnell. I've called Congressman Barr. I mean, it's very frustrating to say the least. And
I thought, though, at one time, one or two of those crossings had been made. But
let
maybe,
me double. It's been,
Yeah.
like, let me go back and I'll check with him and I'll share via email about how many crossings there's left. But I just know that there's a big chunk of Sadieville that's out, and I feel like we're being held hostage by Norfolk Southern, and there's
There's zero impact on it.
no. And what bothers me, like we had a train derailment,
Right.
and on Thursday at 5:00, that happened, and by Sunday, I think Mike's not here, but by Sunday they had it fixed, and I just don't understand. Like,
RJ Corman fixed it.
yeah, and that's true,
It's a different group.
but like, I just don't understand why it's so difficult.
I had somebody ask about Alton Estates also.
Alton Estates, I've talked with gentlemen out there, and all of that's one other little pocket, Alton Court and Holton Way. Those are the two streets out there off Lemons Mill. And AT&T, they're waiting on AT&T to replace some poles. Then KU will move the wires to the new poles, and then Spectrum, and they think that will be done before the date that they gave me was the end of February. But they hope to do that prior. So.
I have a question about the internet as well. What about the area out Ironworks, like Grayson Way, all that on the right from Kings Depot, going like King Run?
Ryan, there's a place. Be honest with you, I was not aware that Grayson had not been activated yet, but it might be tied to the work that there's. Neil Lane, right off of Payne's Depot, is a place that I have asked about several times, and everything is done on the permitting side. It's just Spectrum is trying to get the work done to get it done. And if Grayson is not activated, it's because of that Neil Lane work. That Grayson, if you look at the map, the end of Grayson's not far from the back of Neil Lane, and that's probably what's holding it up. And I'll email Ben Ucelis tomorrow and ask him about Grayson specifically, and if Neil Lane gets activated, does that domino Grayson? So
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions about that?
The only so when Spectrum, they said they were going to do that and then come back to the city. To do that, or will it still gonna
They've
wait?
been working on upgrading the existing network as we've been going on. I'll ask for an update on that.
Wait until they got it all done.
No, they've been working on some of that.
Yeah, because I was waiting until they got done in the city before I switched my service. Because I mean, I've got a gig, so I hate to give that up.
Where you got a gig?
AT&T.
I'll ask about that as well. Any other new business for anybody in the court, in the audience? David?
February 12th is Legislative Day, County Legislative Day. We always go down and meet with our legislators. We got 2 new ones. We need to go down there and make sure they have
3 new ones.
3 new ones, that's right. And so it's February 12th, and then that evening is the reception at KCO. But you'll get details on the magistrate's commissioner side. You'll get an email.
And then along those same lines,
did you
send out an email about legislative breakfast? There's only one during a short session, and there was an email out about that. If you want to go to that Saturday breakfast,
that?
let Stacy know.
The 22nd or something like that? February 20th?
February, like 20. It's yeah. but you all received an email about that. No, it's
I
been.
do have one more question.
Yes, sir.
And it's really to Dan. Thank you for your email about the dam, the Great Crossings Dam. I'm just getting questions from people. Is this, I mean, I know it's the Department of Fish and Wildlife, but is it a done thing, or are they looking at any other options? Just people keep asking me, and I keep telling them, I think this is a done deal, but I said I would ask. I don't.
Fish and Wildlife has communicated that their intent is to remove the Great Crossing Dam. They did a public notice of advertising that they have applied for permits to remove the dam. They have to get the permit from the Energy and Environment Cabinet. That public notice that was in the Georgetown News Graphic this past Tuesday, I think they're going to have that in the paper the next 2 weeks. And, you know, what's been communicated to me is that's their intent, and they have no other plans.
They're still taking public comment.
Yeah, they're still taking public comment for 2 more weeks.
Ryan, what I've done is shared that email that the judge has shared with us, because it's got everything. It's got Fish and Wildlife's, why they're doing what they're doing, their plan. It's all there, and they're still accepting comments. So, because I've had people calling me, and that's what I've been doing, is sharing that and telling them to go through and make your comments.
And Ryan, in that email that I shared with you all, like Rick's talking about, it had a FAQ attached.
And Ryan, I don't think you were on court yet, but they did come to the fiscal court 2 or 3 times to talk about it, and then had
we even had a rather large public meeting at Great Crossing in the auditorium.
Has that been over a year, 2 years?
Oh yeah,
it's been
about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago,
at least.
So
at least, yeah.
Ryan, I hope that
Perfect. Thank you.
I hope that helps you. All right.
Yeah. No, thank you all.
All right. Anything else? If not, then would there be a motion to adjourn? Motion from Rick, second from Kelly. All those in favor?
You're the first.
We're adjourned.
Kelly's the first loser.
I'm going to have to start looking to the left more.
Yeah,
He looked to the right.
I saw that.
And in fact, he looked to the far right. Maybe you can move to District 3.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Pete.